This is Guy Midkiff, and welcome to episode 3, where we can be found on YouTube by searching Dragon Tracks and the name of the episode, for example, Coach Leonard. We can also be found on Facebook. On Facebook, we're found under Your South Lake. Just ask to join, and we'll let you join. Today is May 20th, 2019, and we have Carroll cross-country coach Justin Leonard in the studio with us today. Welcome, Coach Leonard, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to speak to us.
Well, thanks for having me.
No problem. Tell us a little bit about the history of cross-country here at Carroll and some of the accomplishments that we've had.
The history of the cross-country program, I've been here 15 years, and so before I got here, the cross-country program was highly successful. And the girls have won 7 state championships. They've been to state, I believe, 24 consecutive years. The boys have won 4 state championships. Most impressive stat with the boys is currently for 9 years in a row, they've either been first or second place at the state cross-country meet. So a lot of success over the years, and just when I came into it was kind of just try to build and continue what was already in place here. Yeah, my whole reasoning for getting into coaching is, to teach kids the value of what they can learn through athletics. The biggest thing for me is quickly realizing that I'm really not going to have any runners that make a living off of the actual sport of running. So I believe it's my job to kind of reinforce what parents are teaching at home and teach values through athletics and through hard work. So again, that's what I've based everything off of, is just teaching them basic life skills that you have to have in order to be successful once you graduate high school, once you graduate college, and kind of separate yourself and put you in a position to be successful. And I believe in our sport of cross country, it's a workman's sport. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. If you're not putting in the miles, you're not putting in the time, you're not putting in the effort, you're not going to be a success. Same thing later on in life as well. So it's teaching kids that it's okay to work hard. We expect you to work hard, and you're going to be in the minority, unfortunately, but that's okay because you need to have certain goals and certain aspirations that you want to hit. My dad, he instilled in me that basically the showing up, working hard every single day. He instilled a lot of that into me. I always go back to one specific thing was kindergarten through 12th grade, I missed one day of school, and that was in 2nd grade, and I'm still mad that I didn't get to go to school that one day, but he'd always tell me, it's like, Dad, I don't feel good today. He's like, neither do I, but I'm going to work and you're going to school. So it was just really a non-negotiable. No matter how you feel, you show up and do what you're supposed to do. So he ingrained that into me, and it's something that's always stuck.
Yeah, my daughter, who's in her 3rd year with you, going on her 4th year, she talks about her CDs all the time, continuous days of training. Mm-hmm. And at first I didn't really get it, because here we were on vacation last year, and there was she got in late where we went to on vacation. She had no time to get her one day of continuous training in. And you know what she did for 45 minutes? She ran in place in our hotel room. And I'm sure the people below us really loved that.
Right.
So I picked my daughter's brain quite a bit when I asked her. I said, now, you guys have some favorite quotes. Oh, yes, Coach Leonard loves to give us some of his quotes. I said, well, can you give us some of the quotes right off the top of your head? And without hesitating, she said, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. The truth is you can go faster, but sometimes the truth hurts. Repetition is the key to success.
Right.
Where do you get these quotes? Do you make them up? Do you Google them?
I Google a lot of them and look a lot of them up and kind of add to them a little bit, and put a different twist onto them, a lot of them that way. And then some of them just make up, and some of them just, steal from other people. So that's usually what I do. Or sometimes when I'm doing a logbook, something will just come out, and so it kind of sticks that way.
Well, you just used a word that I think the listener would like to learn more about, and that's the logbook. Tell us about the logbook.
The logbook is, the coach that was here before me, he had a logbook. And so the logbook, when you're young and you first come out of college, you think that coaching is all about the X's and O's and what's the workout. But going in and listening to the logbook, you learn a lot of stuff in there. And that's the most important component. I think the logbook is what separates us from everybody else in the regard of we're teaching them, you know, you hear the word character and everybody's, oh yeah, we know what character is. I know what motivation is. But do you really know what that entails? Do you really know the specifics of it? And breaking it down and really looking at it. And it applies because everybody goes through times where they're unmotivated. Everybody goes through character flaws. Everybody goes through bad decisions and everything. But somebody has to teach, and you have to learn that that's okay. That's part of life. But what do I do to get out of this funk that I'm in? Or what can I change? Or what can make me better? And look at it that way. And the more you hear from it, and the more you look at it, the more you start to learn, and you can start to apply things to your situation. And, you know, the craziest thing about it is what I've learned is we don't care how fast a kid is. I just want a kid to show up and work hard. And that's just as important as anybody else. But the thing is whenever they're able to carry out certain characteristics and learn some stuff from logbook, you know that that's going to carry up with them and make them successful in life. And that's the whole goal.
This logbook almost sounds like a personal diary, a path, a record of the work that they put in, of your quotes, of the emotions, the ups and the downs that they had. I think this logbook is fertile grounds for a book someday in your future. I'm just saying. So what happens if one of the runners is late to logbook?
They get kicked out. They get kicked out of logbook, and they may get yelled at. And so that's part of the learning curve, you know. So being on time, that's the number one thing. You have to be on time. If you're not on time, then you're going to miss something, and the world's not going to wait for you. Show up late to a job interview and see what's going to happen, you know. And it's nothing personal. It's just they have to learn that's the number one thing. That's step one. You got to show up, and you need to show up on time.
So what happens if that bus that we've chartered leaves at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're going down to Texas A&M, whoop, and I'm an Aggie, and they show up 5 minutes late?
Well, they're going to come to an empty parking lot. So I've left the state champion in the parking lot, left a lot of really good runners in the parking lot. And to be honest with you, I kind of look forward to it a little bit, beginning of the year, you know, send a message a little bit. But it's just that's one of our rules. You need to be there on time, be there early, and get ready to get on the bus. And it's just a valuable lesson. I learned that lesson in college, to be honest with you. We had to be there on time. And one day we waited for 15 minutes for our top All-American sprinter, and they waited and helped him load his bags on the bus, and then we left. And I sat there and I looked at it and I said, that's never going to happen whenever I start coaching. So that was a valuable lesson.
Our bonds are built through adversity. We have a shared pain. We have shared goals. Mm-hmm. And she goes, more than that, it kind of makes me feel like I'm part of a family.
Right.
How do you do that?
I think the key is just to create an environment that's a safe environment, an open environment, and one that people feel like all kids are putting out a work rate. And it's one that they come into and they hold themselves to a higher standard. Also, too, you're looking at it. You know, when a new freshman crew comes in, it takes about 6 months to a year for them to learn how to work. And so they're looking at the upperclassmen, and that becomes the norm. And so you kind of learn, okay, well, if I'm going to stay here, I've got to do that. And so over time, you start to respect the work more than you do the actual product. And I think that's a huge part of it is you celebrate a PR, which is a personal record for any kid. Doesn't matter how fast they are. It's just everybody knows that kid's working just as hard as everybody else. So it's an environment where you respect hard work.
I know there's something going on because for like the last 2 Thanksgivings, we typically have it here at the house, either in the morning or after Thanksgiving. She goes, well, I'll see you in about 2 hours. I go, where are you going? She goes, well, I got to go run. I go, it's Thanksgiving. She goes, yeah, so?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Rain, sleet, snow. I mean, these kids are going out and they're running, they're hitting it, and it is truly amazing.
Yeah,
so
it is. And I'm always, mesmerized by it as well with how hard they work.
One of the other things that Caitlin describes about you is that, we're talking about why she and the other teammates feel like you're such a success. In the Marine Corps, we call this leadership through example.
Hmm.
I was shocked. You're a lot younger than me, but you're still not 20 years old. And Caitlin goes, well, we went out and we ran 11 miles last Friday, and Coach ran with us. I go, are you kidding me? She goes, no, that's the way he rolls. And me as a parent, I get the impression that you're not asking those kids to do anything you're not willing to do yourself.
Right.
And I think that is the ultimate definition of leadership, is to get out there in the front, run with them, to let them know you're going to share the pain with them.
No, I agree. Especially on a hot day, just to show them that, we're all in this together.
Do you ever talk about setting goals for
all the time.
Kids? What is the value of setting a goal? Why is that important?
You have to have something that you're aiming for. You have to have something that you're shooting for. You need something that you can tie your work to. And so setting a goal, whether it's a long-term goal or a short-term goal, you need something to say, this is why I'm doing this, and this is where I want to be. You need a destination spot that you're trying to get to. So that's what the goals are set up for, is so that the kids can reach those and have something to aim for.
You talk also about consistency.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by consistency when you talk about consistency?
So it's easy. You see this all the time too. We want to be consistent with our work rate, is what we call it, where it's easy to show up and run hard and give good effort when you're PRing and everything's going great, right? But what are you going to be like when those times when you're not motivated, things aren't going right, you're not running that well, girlfriend may have broke up with you, mom and dad may have said something to you, and you show up and the work rate's not there, you're not consistent, and you're not going to be able to reach those goals that you set, because we want to be consistent week in and week out. I tell the kids all the time, we want 1 day to equal 2 days, then you want a week, 2 weeks, months, and then years. And so if you're consistency over a long period of time equals success.
Coach, we had one other item that I wanted to talk to you about under the category of work ethic, and that's character. Why is that so vitally important to your program?
Character is everything. I believe that my definition for character is what you are when no one's watching. And so those decisions that you make, it's huge. It's character is something that you have to kind of dive into. And I really believe that a lot of people don't, because we don't like to be critical of ourselves. We don't like to look and see negatives of ourselves or something that we need to change. And at the end of the day, it's all about how you treat people. And it's about not about what people can do for you. It's really what you can do for other people and try to help people along. And that's basically, in my belief, is that's what we're here for, is to try to help people and try to lead people and guide people and treat people with a certain amount of respect and dignity and character. And at the end of the day, over time, you'll start to see and realize people's true values and what their character are through their actions. And so you want to be a person that when you leave this program or you leave the school or whatever, you ask certain people, hey, what'd you think about such and such? They're not going to tell their PRs. They're not going to tell them how fast they were. They're going to say, oh, he was a good guy, or he went very nice. And so that means more than the actual athletic part, is how you treat people and your decision-making ability and how you carry yourself. And that's the stuff that's going to stick with you. You can only lie to yourself for a certain amount of time before it catches up with you. No
discussion would be complete if we didn't talk about failure and the value of failure and what can come from it.
Failure is a part of life. Good experiences teach you slowly, bad experiences teach you quickly. And so we have to learn from failure. And unfortunately, we don't like failure. No one likes to fail. No one likes that aspect about anything. And but you learn your most important values from failure. And so you're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail every day. And so we have to allow ourselves to fail. We have to allow our kids to fail. We have to allow for failure to be a part of a learning curve in order for that to happen. And we fail all the time. And so the most important aspect of failure is, okay, let's analyze, let's look at why we failed. What can I do differently to change that? and how can I get better from it? And if it happens again, I'll learn again, and I'll be, I'll learn the certain aspects in order to be successful. Don't let failure set you back. Don't let failure make you quit. Learn from it to overcome it. And that ability to overcome failure again and again and again, build a resolve, it builds a toughness, and you'll end up being successful because you failed so many times and you refuse to give up, where a lot of people are not. They're gonna quit, move on to something else.
Pessimism and negativism and being around people that may be a little bit negative. Talk to me about how you feel about that.
Negativity, look at, you can look at the papers, that's what sells, is just negative actions. We like drama. We like the negative aspects. We like to watch people fail. We like to see people not be successful. And so the goal as a coach is to create an environment where failure is accepted. You can learn from it and not use it as a negative and not hope for someone else's failure, because whenever kids feel like they can take a risk and it's going to be okay, then they're going to be more apt to try harder, and which in return equals more success. So that's the thing with it. And you have to, if you are around negative people all the time, you're going to be negative. And so it's kind of like people say is, show me your group of friends, I'll show you your future. You're around a lot of negative people, you're going to become a negative person. So you've got to isolate yourself or be around people that have the same goals as you or have the same mindset as you and have that positive influence and find something positive to say about it. Even if it's a bad day, like prime example, last Friday, it was 85 degrees. We had a long practice. It was hot. We did a hard workout, got done, called all the girls over, and I said, give me one thing that was positive about today. And had about 4 or 5 of them say something positive to leave on a positive note, because it was not a positive experience, but find the positive out of it. And unfortunately, if you're a positive person and you're around positive people, you're in the minority.
When I was putting together my show notes, we have them in front of us now. It kind of gives me something to go off of so I don't wander aimlessly. One of the thoughts that came to my mind was, it does appear to me that running is almost a perfect metaphor for life. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do. I think that the reason why I say it is so much is because, like we talked about earlier, where running is a sport, distance running, where you have to put in the mileage, you have to put in the work in order to get what you want out of it, to hit your goals. And that's the way life is as well. If you want to be a CEO of a company, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, there's certain steps that you have to take in order to get there. And it always all boils down to work. You're going to have a long work hours. You're going to have to study a lot. You're going to have to take a lot of tests. Same thing here. You're not going to be successful in a 5K unless you put in work. And so I think running is that, and that's why it's such a good experience when kids perform well, is because they all know what everybody did in order to get to that position that they were in. So I think it is a great metaphor.
When I looked at it, I saw what Caitlin describes as headwinds and tailwinds, as going uphill and going downhill, and the pain associated. And that is so much like life and what life really is.
Right.
That's a lot of what it is. Also, while we're in the subject of metaphors, isn't a race something like so emblematic of life that we all start at the same starting point, but we don't finish at the same? And doesn't that teach a good lesson that there are no guarantees in life?
There's no guarantees, and it always, right whenever you think you've got everything figured out, something pops up or takes you in a different direction.
One of the things that Denzel Washington also talked about in his commencement speech, and I thought it was so true, is don't finish life with the ghost of talent you never used sitting next to you on your last day on this earth. And isn't it a shame sometimes when you see kids that have all this talent,
yes,
and they never use it.
It is, and that's the biggest tragedy. Is you want to walk away from something knowing that you did your absolute best. I always tell the kids, don't walk away from an experience or an opportunity with regrets, because there are no redos sometimes. You can't go back and redo a certain time or time period in your life. You go out there and do the best that you possibly can.
So I'm going to ask that you finish up with one of the great stories that you tell the kids during what we used to call school circle when I was in the Marine Corps. But I have a suspicion that you have something very similar to it, where you sit the kids down and you talk to them about some event in your life or some person that maybe they can get some meaning from. Can you give us one of your great stories?
Yeah, I've got a lot of stories. I think the kids get tired of hearing all my stories, but I like to tell them anyways. But I've been blessed with meeting a lot of people and coming across a lot of people in my life. My mentor was an unbelievable college coach, and learned a lot of things from him. But going into college, you meet a lot of people in college where there's not a lot of similarities. You come from different places, different backgrounds. I grew up in a town that's got 900 people in it. I graduated with 28 people in my class. So
Where
I
is
had
that?
Gunner is the name of it. Real small town. So where I grew up is a lot different than where we're at now in the school we're at. So when I went off to college, ran into an individual that was from Houston, and we quickly became really good friends, but from different backgrounds. And he grew up a lot different than I did, and he was the first person from his family to graduate high school, and he went and he ran in college there, and saw a lot of his struggles, and and quickly formed a bond with him, and he just worked his way through college and graduated. And he's now got his master's degrees, working in Houston. And so he just relating with him and seeing what he did. And, he talked a lot, and we talk a lot. We talk every week. And coming from, how he grew up and where he was at, that he knew that, hey, you can be successful. Things don't have to be given to you. You have to go out there and you create your own opportunities and you create your own success. And sometimes things are going to be put in your way that you don't think you can overcome. Sometimes an obstacle is going to be put in your way that you don't think you can overcome. But there's always a way to get there if you're willing to find that way and if you're willing to work that way. And don't be happy or don't be satisfied with where you're at. And so that's what he was able to do, was worked extremely hard, and I'm really, really proud of him. And he did it. He did doing a lot of great things. But, I learned a lot from him, and hopefully he learned a little something from me along the way as well. But it was a really good experience.
And it sounds a lot like what people learned from cross country here in South Lake as well. It sounded like that story came right out of one of your logbook events. But I really appreciate you taking the time to come in and talk to us. I know you're a busy man. I'm going to let you go ahead and roll. But thanks again. Everybody, thanks for listening. You can like us, subscribe to us, Standard Way. We'd appreciate that. Coach Leonard, thanks a million.
Thank you. Appreciate it.